Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest. His name is John Brisson, Brisson, of We've Read the Documents. And if you listen to my show, you've heard him many times. I think we've done over 20 shows. We were talking about some of the ones we've done in the past, Barbara Marx Hubbard, but we didn't talk about that. We talked about one about, it's related to the subject matter of tonight's show, which is we talked about Palantir and Peter Thiel, but we're going to talk about it, what I've titled this episode is the Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance Nexus. And there's a lot there. There's a lot been going on. Even when we decided to do this last week, Whitney Webb, really great journalist, came out with something somewhat similar. I haven't listened to the podcast, but I was reading, kind of following her, which I do follow her on social media, but following her, and she was having an argument with somebody about Thiel, and got a little heated, but there's a lot there. And this is really something else. Like this J.D. Vance guy kind of was an interesting pick, I think. It's a very interesting background, actually, to make it all the way up to becoming a VP nominee. And just in the context of the last 2 weeks has just been incredible. I mean, incredible things going on. I think that Biden is dead, actually. I think that he's either in a coma or he's on.
Them height differences were a little weird. I mean, there's a lot of
fake height. You can't fake height, and the body proportions are weird. The new one they brought out, his legs are way too long, and these are established things. And the other thing is that when they brought him out, either last night or the night before, the staging kind of gave it away to me, because Jill intentionally stood back like 2 or 3 steps from him to kind of not make it as obvious. And that to me was obvious staging, which should tell you something. There's also pictures of the whole family kind of in mourning.
Yeah, the Oval Office and the family being there when he supposedly gave his speech was very, very odd. And the modern kind of like millennial terminology for like liminal space, it almost kind of reminded me of that, of how odd the juxtaposition and the setting and kind of like the optics of the picture and above itself kind of just made it seem like they were not even in the same. There's just too much empty space and just too much. It was just weird. It was like one of the weirdest pictures I've ever seen. So
no, there was another weird picture with that, John, because there was another one that clearly either was AI'd or something, because Biden's ear had 2 ear sockets or something.
Yeah, I saw that picture.
It's deliberate deception. And so much like the Prince William's wife, like who knows what's going on with her? Like I don't think she's among the living either. But it's just strange, like crazy Wizard of Oz type stuff. Like what's really going on behind the scenes, and what's going on with Thiel and Vance and Trump and all this. Just, I mean, the near, like it would have been catastrophic if Trump got killed. But anyway, John's going to talk more about this. So John, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back, William, as always. And yes, we are living in some very bizarre times. I really don't know what to make all of it. To be honest with you, I actually thought that Trump's VP pick would have likely been Benjamin Carson. That's looked like the way that they were moving in that direction for a while. That he had never betrayed Trump and never had ever said any unkind word about Trump, and had always been, his closest friend and trusted ally. So I thought that was the and it would also give him plausible deniability about being the vaccine president, right? And that Ben Carson, he could be like, well, Trump was mistaken, and I'll make sure that we won't have Fauci, and I'll make sure it'll never happen again, right? Which I don't believe that to be true, but he could at least put forth that message to the people of being such. And something that changed right before the pick for VP that made me think it was going to be Vance was all of a sudden I saw Elon Musk all of a sudden be like, I'm donating to Trump. Okay, that was different. And then all of a sudden Zuck comes out. Now, this was before the so-called assassination attempt, where Zuck comes out and he goes, I'm allowing Trump back onto Instagram and Facebook. And I went, okay, that's weird. And then it was coming out that Donald John Trump Jr. was going to introduce the vice presidential pick. Now, I've been watching Donald John Trump's Jr. show Triggered a lot on Rumble over the past few years. And I noticed that J.D. Vance was always frequented on Rumble, is frequented on Tucker Carlson as well, too. And I went, okay, does that, so it looked like Silicon Valley all of a sudden, because Peter Thiel was like, my hands are off this presidential cycle. I don't want to have anything to do with it, and he kept reiterating that. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, wait a minute, Silicon Valley's going for Trump. But even before the Butler, Pennsylvania, even before this, I was like, what's happening here? So I remember saying on Billy Ray Valentine's America Unplugged, I was like, are they going to go with Vance? No. I was like, it doesn't sit right with me, but I guess they are. And then they did. And I was like, well, and that was the time, like, I remember, the night of the assassination, I remember, attempt. I remember, Elon Musk immediately endorsing Donald Trump right after that, right? And then you had the Thiel group. You had Palmer Luckey, the founder of Oculus and the founder of Anduril Industries, which is very heavily Thiel funded. Anduril being another Lord of the Rings, and he also was involved with the virtual border wall and stuff like that. We've talked about that in the past. Him being very heavily regarded by Lloyd Austin, this current Secretary of Defense in the Biden administration, and being praised for the use of drones in Ukraine and in Israel, right? So I was like, okay, like, and so he comes out and he was like, I was always for Trump. I was been for Trump, 2016. Like, all of a sudden I saw this Silicon Valley shift, like lockstep. Now, it wasn't all of them, but it was a good majority of them. We're all of a sudden either like Zuck, that was like, well, I'm not really backing either Trump or Biden, but it was pretty patriotic and an awesome shot when Trump held up that flag after his assassination attempt. Am I right? And I'm like, well, that's an odd thing to say for people that generally hate Trump, right? Like, why would they give him any credence to that? Right. And so then I started realizing that Silicon Valley, including Apple CEO Tim Cook, were going to Trump. And I was like, well, then Thiel's in for Trump. And so, Thiel was very much a part of Cambridge Analytica 1.0, what I'm calling Cambridge Analytica 2.0. Cambridge Analytica has been dissolved, but whatever that operation was, is happening again. And now Thiel has put his full force, money, and endorsement behind Trump for president. And JD Vance being vice president seemed like it was to solidify, because we also heard, now whether all this is narratives, and I want to get your opinion on it or not, I don't know. But I heard that RFK Jr., because we have that phone call with a little bit leaked where Trump was talking about his issues with vaccine. It's to RFK Jr., that leaked phone call, right, where the photographer happened to be filming RFK Jr., just like Kamala Harris happened to be filmed when she got that call from Obama, right? So it's the same things. And you had Kennedy's son leak it, right? You had Kennedy's son leak that video on X, right? And so the rumor was he was going to go with RFK Jr., but then Tucker Carlson and Donald John Trump Jr. threw a fit, and they were like, you have to, because of Thiel, you have to put him in JD Vance. And so they went with JD Vance, which in my opinion, optics wise, now power wise, it's a brilliant move. Optics wise, he's one of the most unlikable vice presidents, like awkward ever, that I can see, at least the most recent times. I mean, look, I'm no fan of Kamala Harris. I think she's very awkward too. But compared to JD Vance and the stuff that they've drudged up, whether true or not, about JD Vance, even the stuff that JD Vance even wrote in Hillbilly Elegy,
right.
Some of it is, false, like him having sexual relations with a couch. That's not true. He didn't write about that or say anything to that point. But some of the writings in there about him thinking that he's homosexual, as you know, Peter Thiel's homosexual, and which Hulk Hogan speaking at the DNC, again, the whole Gawker lawsuit, right? With Peter Thiel, right?
Right.
So, but anyway, JD Vance talking about that he has this conversation with his grandmother that he thinks he's gay, and his grandma, who's supposed to be a Christian, even though she's kind of like your drinking, smoking, gambling, like granny, right? Is like, being blunt with him, and I'm not trying to be crude, is like, will you ever imagine sucking a dick, JD? And I'm like, yeah, but he's like 12 or 13, like 11 or like 12. Like that's kind of a crude thing to say to your grandson, you know? So I mean, and then she talks about how where he's like, well, no, and then she's like, well, it's not a sin to be homosexual. God still loves you. And then JD Vance is kind of agreeing with her, right? And then you have the weird thing where JD Vance was a Protestant allegedly, but he converts to Catholicism. That usually doesn't happen. And then the only person that I know of that's really happened in politics is CMP Rick Santorum, who became Opus Dei, right?
Wow.
So that's odd, so I mean, he's just all the comments that he has about them, whether some of them aren't true, obviously, like him having sexual relations with a couch is not true, but some of the other stuff is. And just he's unlikable. Like when you listen to him speak, he's not stupid. Okay, he's actually, from what I can tell, pretty smart. And that might have one thing that he has if he gets into debate to whoever they pick for vice president, right? But as far as the stories are concerned around him and the stuff that we're going to talk about today, that the alternative media is actually, a lot of people are hammering him on his connections to Thiel and hammering on his connections. It's really bad optics, like horrible. So what's your opinion on all what I just said there? I know it was a lot, but
I mean, it's kind of a mystery. I honestly can't say I know a lot about Thiel and from you and from our discussions, but it is an interesting tie. It's a play towards the tech gods. Like, I think it's a realization these tech oligarchs have so much. And I think you mentioned Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg had a big hand in installing Biden, right? Zuckerbucks, and they've stopped them. And he financed a lot of stuff. So the secret kind of, not even that secret, it was all pretty much discovered, but he put his weight behind the worst president ever, Biden, and terrible administration. So I think maybe that's why he's not backing Biden again, because this last 4 years has been a total disaster. But I think it is an acknowledgement of that. And I think one of the things, Thiel is tech guy, but also VC. We've talked about that, venture capital. And Vance has that background too. So they're almost kind of like cousins in their sensibilities, because I think Thiel, Stanford Law School, Vance went to Yale and has the VC background. I think he's got a VC company, if I remember correctly.
He does, but that's payment from Thiel directly. His VC days were not when Thiel picked him up and groomed him, which was odd to me because Thiel usually selects Stanford people majority of the time, but he selects Vance even really before Vance ever became anything. He gave him one of his first jobs in venture capital with Menthol Capital. We only worked there a year while he was writing in Hillbilly Elegy, and he didn't even really do anything, even though Menthol Capital is invested in Palantir. So maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But it reminds me a lot of the story of Jeffrey Epstein and whether or not he was picked up by Donald Barr or not. Which seems more and more likely now because the picture that recently came out of William Barr and Jeffrey Epstein in summer camp together.
Right. And that was at that Michigan camp, right? What was it called?
Yes. I forgot the name of it, but yeah, you're right. So, to me, I don't know exactly when Peter Thiel picked up and groomed JD Vance for the position that he's in now, but it was before JD Vance had ever really made himself into anything.
Interesting. So there's an early connection there. That's really something else. But he also, like you said, we were talking in the pre-show, it's like this group of people, because Vivek Ramaswamy was on the kind of in the wing, so to speak, to become vice president, and they're all friends. So they're all connected. Like these go way back. I think Vivek and they're all in this kind of same cutting edge technology area too, with biotech, which is kind of unnerving and should be disturbing considering what the rollout of the COVID shots was like. And I think that Vance, like I just saw something from her name is Sasha Latipova, somebody who I read often during the whole COVID thing. I think she had the best, really one of the best, if not the best handle on everything, that it was a DARPA juice rolled out by the Department of Defense.
Very much.
She's writing that that he had JD Vance has a company and I think for Amplify Bio or something.
Amplify Bio, yeah. So that's more the connection over Naria. I'll talk more about that later, about the venture capital firm that he founded with Eric Schmidt of Google, by funding from Eric Schmidt, Mark Anderson of Anderson Horowitz, and Peter Thiel. That was in 2019 when he funded Nara Capital, which is supposedly the ring from the Lord of the Ring.
It is. It's one of the three
ring.
elven rings. It's one of the three elven rings. It's Narya, Narya.
And it's supposed to help you resist tyranny, if I remember correctly.
I think so, yeah.
So anyway, but back to his Yale days. It's commonly commonly even by myself until I did further research, even though it's kind of ambiguous. Skull and Bones is a senior undergrad, should I say, secret society. JD Vance was law school, which would obviously not be Yale undergrad. So I don't think he was in Skull and Bones. However, I would state that Skull and Bones has pretty much thrown every rule out the window, supposedly the past few years where they once were pretty much a all white male society, and they no longer at all. I've heard rumors of even people who were not undergrads being admitted into Skull and Bones as well too, but I don't think he is. So I'll put that with a question mark. Okay, but I will say this: he met his wife, Yusha, and Vivek in Yale Law School. Okay, now his wife, Yusha Chilakiri, she studied technology law primarily, and she wrote for the Yale Journal of Law and Technology. Okay, and she ended up working at she was a law clerk for Brett Kavanaugh before he became Supreme Court Justice. Okay, and Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts. Okay, and she went to work for the law firm Munger, Tolles, and Olson. Now, the interesting thing about that law firm is that law firm represented Ripple Labs, which is a Thiel company that runs the cryptocurrency XRP, against their case versus the United States SEC. Okay. And so we don't know if she was specifically on that case, but I think she would have been, known to her extensive background in technology law. Okay. I think that she would have, because the law firm has, eventually won that case, Ripple Labs won that case against the SEC. So I think she probably likely had some involvement in that lawsuit, I would assume. I don't know for sure, but I would assume that she did based off of her history.
I would too.
And then Vivek and Vance met in Yale Law. Vivek and Vance used to go to the bar and watch Cincinnati Bengal games together. Vivek said that himself. Vance named one of his sons after Vivek, after their close friendship. So they are very close friends with each other. And Vivek, he founded Rovient Sciences, which is kind of like this conglomerate pharmaceutical company that would go buy other pharmaceutical companies and kind of like absorb them in. So there's two parts of that company I want to talk about. One is Datavant. Datavant is very similar to Palantir in its role of managing data, which Palantir was a big part of Operation Tiberius Kirk, which you did a previous show, which is part of Operation Warp Speed. Datavant was doing something very similar and actually joined with the National Institutes of Health, the government grant, about a year ago to help with Palantir to maintain those databases for Operation Tiberius Kirk, where anybody who got a jab or anybody who tested positive for COVID-19 in a clinical setting, your medical history, your past, present, and medical history went into a anonymized database. Okay. In the United Kingdom and in the United States of America. Okay. So you lost your medical freedom right then and there, right? So Vivek is involved with that, with Datavant. And they're actually, one last thing to that. I have to get the name of it, but they're doing a specific program. Datavant is with Palantir, and that they are let me get the name of it. They won a contract for managing I think like 1 million Americans' DNA records. Let me look that up real quick.
Okay.
But that's concerning.
Right. I mean, these guys are really involved in kind of like cutting edge tech in all medical data aggregation in a lot of government contracts. So, like, I think Latipova was saying about Vance is that his company's, kind of like Musk, a lot of government involvement,
All
which,
Teals and his
right.
acolytes all get government contracts.
And I think that Whitney Webb is like, this guy's CIA. He's got to have some either CIA funding in QTEL. Everybody kind of, well, not everybody, people kind of in the know that that's the CIA's funding kind of funnel company. But
Yeah.
InQtel's all over the stuff.
So the Pacific program is called the National Institutes of Health's All of Us Research Program. So it's Datavant working with Palantir, working with the University of Colorado and Schuetz Medical Campus. And that is 1 million individuals reflect the United States' diverse population, is to have all of their medical history, their biomedical data, and their genetic data.
Wow. That's amazing. And it kind of ties into something that was said by the local FBI. I mean, it's kind of a strange connection, but it tied into something that was said by the local FBI guy in Pennsylvania. They said they got the idea of Crooks through. They said they got something from his bio, and somebody thought that was because they had his DNA on file. The FBI did, which is kind of not unsettling to say the least.
Well, did you see the Heritage Foundation, which is kind of like a early offshoot of the Council for National Policy, where they tracked Crooks's application data as far as his advertisements are concerned, that he's visiting an FBI office. Now, to me, this seems kind of like an invasion of privacy, especially for the Heritage Foundation to do such research is very odd. Shouldn't they be busy with Project 2025?
Right.
It's a little odd to me. So like that, I mean, to me, that's, but then again, I guess as a side, something I wonder if has ever happened to you is I keep the GPS off on my phone unless I absolutely need to use it. However, one time I went to Sprouts and I said nothing to nobody. It wasn't like I was talking to anybody or anything. I just thought in my head, I saw Mikey's vegan Hot Pockets. And I was like, why would someone eat a fake meat, Hot Pocket, right? Just thought to my head, right?
Right.
I bought some stuff from Sprouts. Went home, didn't mention anybody I went to Sprouts. No one knew I went there. And advertisements for Mickey's Hot Pockets popped up.
Wow.
Now, obviously, I don't think it's reading my mind. It's more likely that GPS is on at all times. They're getting our data on at all times. Whether we turn it off, it really doesn't matter unless our phone's completely off. And even then, depending on if you have an Apple iPhone or a Samsung, there's people with iPhones, supposedly you can't really ever truly turn it off, even if you turn it off, unless the battery is completely dead. They said the microphone could still be in use. So I mean, it's crazy. The amount of
Crazy.
The Heritage Foundation was able to get that data on Crooks. It's crazy.
Right, it's third-party data. They did the same thing for the 2,000 mules, right, to prove that they were stuffing the ballot boxes. But yeah, it's crazy. He was like going into Spookville, like whatever that building was. He was like surrounded by like NSA, FBI, like God only knows the front companies, but like almost every other office has some kind of government thing. Whether God only,
But still, to
knows.
get access to that data, it's like it reminds me where the CMP was running. They were buying data of mailing lists.
Oh, gosh, I mean, it's scary. This is Palantir type stuff, right?
Yeah,
like
tracking
Palantir,
everybody all at once.
Yeah, everybody all the
insane.
time, right?
So, and then of course, something that I believe that you talked about during your COVID series is Roviant Sciences, which is Vivek Ramaswamy's company. They purchased Genevant, which made the lipo nanomolecule delivery system for the mRNA vaccines, and they actually sued Moderna, for patent violation for not paying them for their lipid poly nano, delivery mechanisms for the mRNA vaccines.
Wow. And they say those lipid nano things are really dangerous. They're not good for you. It's like it's like screwing up your body. People don't feel well.
They usually make them out of polyethylene glycol, which is pet-friendly antifreeze or Miralax, or polysorbate 80.
It's unbelievable. I mean, the efficacy, the kind of like snake oil, modern techno snake oil stuff, people wouldn't believe. It's just total garbage. They get it all approved, and there's probably kickbacks or somebody finances the rep or something. So, the senator. It's so sick. It's so disturbing. And apparently that's kind of like if you have long COVID. I think you and I talked about this, like lipid replacement, like try to get more lipids in your body, good quality things to get rid of these lipid proteins or whatever. It's like
Yeah, and there's also the worry of it with polysorbate 80 crossing the blood-brain barrier and causing misshaping proteins, which are known as prions, which is,
right.
The human causes Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease, which is mad cow pretty much, or prion disorder in the human brain. And so again, did the COVID vaccines and the mRNA or the viral vector DNA, does it cause prions in and of itself? And does these polysorbate 80 through these injections also cause prion disorders? I guess we'll know in 10 and 20 years if that's the case. And my friend of mine, Dr. Kevin McCarron's done a lot of research into that. But I mean, that's something to be concerned about.
Yeah, it is for sure. How long have they been doing that? What other applications have had these lipid proteins in?
As far as injected, it just hasn't been.
This is the first one. I know it's the first mRNA.
I think you had the flu vaccine that was mRNA that they were flirting with. I don't know how far they got before the COVID injections, if I remember correctly. But now you have the Biden's cancer moonshot, which you have the director of Biden's cancer moonshot, Greg Simon, working on the health advisory board for Palantir.
It's sick. It's crazy. These are really crazy times, man. I mean, the other thing is like how old is Vance? He's fairly young. Trump is an old guy. Trump is 81 and big. Like, I don't know how much more.
I think JD Vance in his late 30s, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's young. So he's been, it's kind of almost like a semi-coronation. Like he's the one waiting in the wings because Trump, these guys get old. So maybe that's the big bet on Thiel is like Trump not maybe winning, but not making it for a whole another 4 years.
Maybe they knock Trump out when he gets in, and all of a sudden we have President Peter Thiel pretty much with JD Vance, right? Who JD Vance has changed his name. I don't know really.
Yeah, it's
how
Bowman.
Many times.
Yeah, I think his real name on his birth certificate is John Donald Bowman.
James Donald Bowman.
Jameson, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I like JD Vance. It sounds more authoritative. I think JD kind of Juris Doctor. It's a little better.
And then Donald in and of itself, you have to remember, means world ruler in Gaelic. So,
wow.
For both Donald John Trump and JD
Two Donalds.
Vance, so. Yeah.
Good Lord. Holy smokes.
But so you have, and like I said, he went to work for Menthol Capital. It's unknown if he did anything at Menthol Capital. Menthol Capital was a big financial capital firm for Palantir. And then
so you've got Palantir, Anduril, Mithril, Aria, or whatever it is.
Yeah, when we go over Naria stuff, it's crazy. Some of that stuff's really gonna blow your mind. You're gonna be like, "What the?" I mean, some of it. I mean, even I'm still researching all the connections he has with Naria, and it's still the stuff that came out of it. I was like, "Wow!" Like I've been researching Thiel, like I mentioned, for years. I've written about him on my Substack. I wrote about the prelude to Operation Tiberius Kirk, where Thiel was using the Palantir technology to deliver to the United Nations World Food Program. They would leave crates of money and food with vaccines, but they would track the vaccines and people that got the vaccines in Africa using the same technology they went to use with Operation Tiberius Kirk here in America and the United Kingdom, and partnered with the United Nations. It's crazy, and so, I mean, another thing, you know about lavender, right? That was being used by Israel to identify targets and even to
in Gaza, right?
In Gaza, yes, and of course they were, there was no human advisory board for lavender. People, it was just if it was deemed threat enough by the artificial intelligence, whether it was a true threat or not, like pre-crime and Minority Report, they would neutralize, they would kill the person, they murder the person, right? And then you had them also using it for journalists as well too, and it kind of reminds me about the Palestinian Christian journalist that got murdered in Israel. Was it last year that happened, where she got assassinated by the IDF, if I remember correctly? I have to go back and look at her name, but the basis for lavender was Palantir Gotham.
Wow. So they are aggregating all that data and then selecting targets out of some kind of Palantir software.
Look up Palantir Gotham. You should be able to bring it up, just to show you how widespread it is. And then I'm going to talk about Vance's true anomaly, where they're doing it from space.
Wow, this is getting crazy. It's almost like, you know, like James Bond terrifying type stuff. Look at this. They put a lot of work into this website. This is Palantir's website.
That is Gotham, yes.
Yeah. You are now entering operating system for global decision making. Copyright 2024. Your software is the weapon system. Oh, that's not unnerving.
So that is for world governments, decision dominance from space to mud, for the AI to make global decision making, to be able to run untold amounts of scenarios for governments and for the powerful elite.
Orchestrate combat power.
And for police as well, too.
Right. Palantir, I think there was an application I remember in Louisiana, right? Or like they tried to apply it to like the police force of New Orleans, if I remember, or something like that.
They were using it for various, I don't know if it was back then they were, but they were they've been using it for various instances around the world, to my knowledge. You have Mattis right there, you know.
Wow, yeah. Incredible. Let's create more together. Offerings, anti-money laundering, automotive mobility, hospital operations, right? You can apply it anywhere.
And it's where Palantir is one of those companies that were losing money for the longest time, right? Right? But somehow managed to keep expanding. I think there's a lot of black budget money flowing into Palantir.
It would make me think that too. Yeah. Wow.
So, and so I guess we can go ahead and talk about Narya. You can look up go to Narya real quick, and you can we can discuss all the companies. Not all of them are nefarious, but a lot of them are. Okay, so if you scroll down, it should pop up with the portfolio. You might have to click at the top where it says portfolio. There it goes. Okay.
There you go.
Scroll down. There. Okay. So everybody's upset at Bill Gates buying up all the farmland, right? And with good measure, right? Well, why don't you click on Acre Trader, and we can see that there's a website right there.
Wow.
To buy farmland, but it's okay, right? You can diversify it with tangible assets. You could tokenize the farmland. That's okay, right, William?
Wow. I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I'm not a good. No, I'm being facetious there. I'm not a fan of this at all.
I know you are. I'm just saying, like, this is disturbing, like the technical aspects of just land ownership and things like that. Like, whoa, crazy.
So that's an issue. And then next we have the pharmaceutical branch of Narya, which is Amplify Bio and Cura Therapeutics. Now, the very interesting thing about Cura Therapeutics, and both are doing mRNA research, okay, is Cura Therapeutics says that they can bring mRNA technology and biotechnological drugs to the masses for affordability purposes. Like they can make it affordable, okay, for you to get all these mRNA injections and infusions or whatever, okay. And so anyway, Cura Therapeutics, very interestingly enough, is run by Vivek Ramaswamy's brother, Shankar Ramaswamy.
Wow, wild.
He's a co-founder. And so, I mean, and then scroll down now. Go back to where you were for the last page you were at for Amplify Bio. We can talk about that real quick for a second.
Okay.
Scroll down. So this is what Thiel wanted, and this is a whole thing about Thiel literally buying up and controlling the supply chains of the United States. That's a whole nother show if you want to do that show. Okay, so he trialed it with Operation Tiberius Kirk, which Operation Tiberius Kirk was controlling and analyzing through Palantir the manufacture of the mRNA vaccines in combination with and the viral vector. So you had Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and Pfizer all being controlled from manufacture to distribution to shot in arms to effects afterwards, being controlled by Operation Tiberius Kirk. Okay. This Amplify Bio is doing very similar thing to that. Now, everybody got all upset, and rightfully so, about the Fauci testing on the dogs, right? The National Institute of Health testing on the dog. Well, look right here. Amplify Safety, Efficacy, and Technology headquarters in West Jefferson, Ohio, of all places. And look, NHPS, rodent, dog, pig, mini pig studies. What are they studying? mRNA. What are they likely making? Chimeric antibodies for biological drugs, where they literally take fetal cells in most instances, but not always. Sometimes they take tumor cells. Okay, they'll take a tumor cell, a cell line of a 36-year-old male, or they'll take fetal cells from a fetal cell line. They'll inject it into the animal, and they'll humanize the body part. Okay.
Wow.
And this is called chimeric antibodies. You can look it up. I've done extensive study of this during COVID when they made the drug Regeneron, which killed my uncle, by the way, because it was inappropriately given to him.
Oh, wow.
And this is by the mechanism of which they made it is, and then whatever disease you have, let's say it's SARS-CoV-2 or whatever, they'll inject it into the animal. They'll extract the antibodies out of the humanized body part. Usually it's the thymus or the spleen, and then they'll take it and they'll purify it, supposedly, and then inject it or infuse it into you.
Wow, that's disturbing.
Yeah, it's extremely, especially, look, as a pro-life Christian, the fetal aspect is abhorrent to me. It's even abhorrent if you take the cancer cells of a cancer cell line to make, like they make, most of your biological drugs are either made from aborted fetal cell lines, and same with your vaccines, or, like I said, the cell line of a 36-year-old metastasized of a male, roughly. I think it was 36-year-old, roughly. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, anybody would take any of this medication. It's literally genetically modified medication. I mean, they call it chimeric antibodies in humanized animals. It's Frankenstein level. It's Victor Frankenstein,
Right,
Dr.
right.
Victor Frankenstein levels of
It's crazy. It's amazing. There's no oversight. I bet. I mean,
No.
who's watching this stuff?
No, not at all.
No. I mean, these are yeah. This is bad news. I mean, this Vivek's brother's involved with this.
Not this company. It's the other
Okay,
company.
the other one. He's involved with who's these guys? Anyway, I mean, he's somewhere around there. Didn't Vivek like basically pump and dump his own biopharmaceutical company? Like he
still
got his mom to write a fake paper authorizing something, and then it turned out to be fake. But
that is one of the drugs. I don't remember exactly which one it is, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's my understanding. So his mom like wrote something, oh, this is a great thing, and then his stock went up. Then he sold the stock, and then it turned out it wasn't.
But he's still a major part of Roviant, though Vivek is even to this day. And then if you click back on Naria, so we have the Hallow app, which is literally anybody who uses it. Again, you know, it's usually a Catholic prayer app. I have my issues, obviously, with praying the rosary as a Baptist, but they're literally using Palantir to analyze people's prayers and journals.
Wow.
In Hallow. Okay.
Wow.
That's
like B system type stuff.
And the craziest thing is you had leftist publications like write about this, like BuzzFeed, and people just immediately like, well, that's BuzzFeed, that's fake. And I'm like, no. Actually, now True Anomaly's the biggest one. Okay. So defining the next generation of space security. Okay. So this is, imagine Palantir and Anduril Industries in space. Okay, this is what this is. All right.
Wow.
So Mosaic is, you can click on Mosaic. It's Palantir Gotham in space, monitoring everything in space, warfare in space, everything. Okay, so this is Palantir Gotham applied to space. That's what Mosaic is. Okay. And then Jackal is their actual kind of like Anduril Industries drone. Okay.
Nice. Good name, right? Why don't we name it something not benign? How about Jackal?
And it has multiple payloads. And what it does is it neutralizes any space-based weapon. And I theorize also maybe ground weaponry as well, too. Maybe rods from God. Maybe kinetic bombardment. Maybe, even though it doesn't say it does that. They can, maybe it could have the potential to do that. But what it does talk about is any satellites we want taken out, any space-based weapons we take out, this thing does it. Now, the craziest thing is see that Mission X in the top right-hand corner?
Yep.
I think this is really what SpaceX was. It wasn't Elon failing, flying rockets into space. Okay. It was the cover for this full spectrum low Earth orbit dominance.
Wow. Wow. With Mission X, the true anomaly is advancing capabilities that support deterrence and secure space for future generations. Wow.
And I believe that Starlink is a part of this for
Wow.
communications and for space-based weaponry. I think it all fits and all connects. And this Mission X is truly what SpaceX is. All those millions, billions of dollars that were pulled in government contracts to Musk for SpaceX, it wasn't about going back to the moon. It was this.
Wow. Flight 1 in March marked a significant milestone as the first Jackal AOVs reached orbit. So these things are already up. They've been up there. Wow. I don't think this has hit the news yet, or at least not the news I read.
No, I didn't know this until I started researching Vance.
Wow.
This is the combination of SpaceX and Anduril Industries and Palantir. Full spectrum space dominance.
It's full on Moonraker. I got to watch Moonraker again.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is kind of how scary it is. Like, these guys are not elected officials with like power over life and death. Like, that's why they're all probably all being courted by politicians, you know?
I mean, this is the whole shebang right here.
New technology for the space race. I think this is way ahead. I think they're way ahead of everybody else. I don't know what the secret programs are or whatever.
And I think this is more nefarious than what they're showing. I think this is only but a glance.
Right. I think you're right. Like what they're able to do. Wow. Colorado Springs, Colorado, right where the Air Force is. Wow, this is incredible. This is like a whole nother show. Like, whoa. Like, they're tearing it up.
And they're working directly with the United States Space Force. They're working directly with Space Force. Remember, Trump, was the one who brought Space Force. The Trump administration was who brought the Space Force into existence during his administration.
Right. Space Force is planning what could be the first military exercise in orbit. They're probably way ahead.
Right there, True Anomaly appoints former Palantir leader Christina Cook.
Where do you see that?
Right there. As the first chance revenue officer. First chief revenue officer.
Right. So they're all just like incestuously like going from one company to another, Vance and Thiel's companies. I actually know somebody who works at Anduril. I'm not going to say, but pretty interesting.
But I mean, it's this is something else, man. Once I stumbled upon this, and there's probably more that we will never know,
Oh, no question. Like, some of these people are probably very interesting. D. Pentino brings extensive expertise to True Anomaly's leadership team, having most recently served as director of advanced concepts, tactics, and wargaming at the U.S. Space Force Space Security and Defense Program.
So where does the government end and the NGOs begin?
Excellent question.
I don't know. Right there, you can see down, he also worked with the CIA, right? With the task of examining threats to national security space architecture at the CIA.
You read faster. Oh, there you go. Yep, you're right. There it is. Highly decorated within the space industry, receiving the Air Force Meritorious Civilian Service Award, right? So that's probably why Colorado Springs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Colorado. Mm-hmm. Amazing stuff. They're like way ahead, man. They're just like barreling forward into.
Well, that's interesting. At the click at the top where it says "Learn More," True Anomaly selected for Victus Haze.
What's the one from Terminator that it goes self-aware? What's the name of that?
Oh, you're talking about
It's kind of, this reminds me of that. Like,
I can't think of the name, but I know I can't believe we're drawing a blank on it.
Somebody I'm too. 31 U.S. Space Force System Command contract for the Victus Haze tactically responsive Skynet. Thank you. This kind of reminds me of Skynet.
It does.
Like, imagine like Skynet with these like drones, warfare drones. Oh, we're only going to target them at space. You showed other space vehicles. Are you sure? Like, what about a low orbit, like, city or human destroyer, like a hunter killer, like
Yeah, you
something.
have you can have kinetic bombardment. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
I don't know, man. When I saw this, I was like, oh, this is what really SpaceX really was. It was never,
There's a
launching anything to the
military
moon or
component.
going to the Mars. It never was that. It was this
Right, right. I think you're
low
right.
Earth orbit dominance.
It's
And
incredible.
you would really not be able to escape anywhere on Earth, right? And
No,
that's why you have all those
where would you go?
Starlink satellites up.
Right. Yeah, Starlink could find you. Like that's like you think Starlink. I mean, it's like the dual use thing of technology where
Mhm.
like you're getting a benefit, but they're also watching you, right? That's Starlink. Like they know where you are, they know who you are.
And they were used by the Ukrainian government,
There you go.
specifically.
That's right.
So I mean, it's something else. I think maybe, and I think we talked about this in your show before. I think if they do some sort of true cyber polygon event, and the internet's down for 10 days, I don't think the electricity is going to go down, but I think the internet might. And then they bring it back online. They might say, well, you need your real ID to get online now, and you have to go through Starlink specifically through contracted to the United States government to provide internet 2.0, right?
Right. It's scary, man. Like this is like barreling forward, control and high technology in space. Like
As we talked
wow.
about before, this is the World Future Society techno optimist transhumanist future where they sell it as a good thing.
Right. So it's a good thing.
Compared to the dystopian transhumanist future of the World Economic Forum. And it's like, well, this one, like they're both literally the same thing. It's just this one's going to be sold to you as the white hats are in control and it's going to be good.
Right. Yeah. No doubt. I mean, I
Techno
think that
patriotism.
don't you think that's like the whole thing about all this high technology that's kind of becoming anti-human and totally detached from oversight is like they have to sell it to you as like some benefit for humanity, like just like Musk is selling like I'm at the cutting edge of electric cars and space travel and all this stuff. And it's like, well, what's the dark side? Like they don't talk about the dark side of the EVs, which is just total like strip mining to get all the
Of
lithium or
lithium.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have Barbara Marx Hubbard, who was one of the founding members of the World Future Society. She writes right here in her book, Happy Birthday, Planet Earth. If the selfish were to inherit the evolutionary capacities, early external aspects of Christ's abilities, she says Christ's ability is nuclear energy, biotechnology, longevity, self-replicated machines, the power to build new worlds. They would self-destruct and in the process destroy the whole, because she says that anybody who chooses not to ascend, which is about 1/4 of humanity, will be culled by the elite as the pale horse riders would take them out, right?
Right.
So she's literally saying that this technology, which is going to be framed to the world in the beast system as something that's good, it's not. It's anything but. So it's crazy. It's crazy to me. And I guess one other company you can look at under Naria, should I say? You don't have to click on a Realm Alliance. I want you to click on, but Strive Asset Management is Vivek Ramaswamy's asset company.
That's
There's not really much to say about there other than ETFs, but that is funded by Vance and by Thiel, right? So. But the Realm Alliance one you might find very interesting.
Let's do Realm Alliance. The foundational industrial security platform. Realm safeguards the health and safety of your personnel while providing actionable intelligence to improve situational awareness. So it's basically like protecting your company, individual assets, your employee assets or something.
Yes, you ever read the book Snow Crash?
No.
By Neil Stevenson. It's like in the future, the techno-optimist future, everything is a quote-unquote libertarian paradise where it's all controlled by corporations, and you live in certain subsects that are like, like subdivisions that are owned by corporations that have like their own protection, right? What we used to call charter cities, which Peter Thiel is very big in charter cities. They had like the charter city outside of the Tesla plant being built in Texas, right? And stuff like that and everything. So this is kind of what it reminds me of that. Or the Simpsons episode with when he goes to work with the guy, I forgot the guy's name. where he goes to work for the nuclear plant in the other city, and it's like a nuclear plant built with like a city and stuff like that and everything. This is the future that they want with their 15-minute cities. Is you live back at the corporate town, you work for the company, you
Right.
buy from the company store, and the company protects you. That's what this reminds me of.
Wow, that's crazy. It's really the techno company town. So
Mhm.
you're truly like a slave. You're overseen by the company. You go to work for the company 24/7. They provide CCTV, drones, vehicle trackers, access control, satellite imagery, and more into a common operating picture. So some guys at some like control center, some like Cyberdyne control center, cyber thing, just watching everybody work, almost like techno communism. Like it overlaps with some of the other guests I have, but they're all in control. Guys like Thiel's in control. Look at this
Yeah.
thing of Thiel. Like when you were telling me this is how Thiel is regularly, I thought he was on something. Like this is not like coffee. He's jacked up. Watch this.
Specifically, I think when I was doing research online, a lot of the criticisms that people want to make about Palantir is the idea that the technology that Palantir produces is used to crack down on individual liberty. So often the examples that people use to make this criticism is the idea of the example of policing departments across the US, or even with the protests outside the contracts with the IDF. And how do you, in your position and as involved in Palantir, how do you navigate that balance between governments and technology?
I cut it short. I should have had it longer, but it's very strange.
That's how he always is. He's extremely awkward. He's extremely private. That's why he raged against Gawker so bad, because they had leaked that he was homosexual in the early 2010s. You also have the mysterious death of his lover, his homosexual lover, right? Which is a whole nother discussion in and of itself. That Thiel's a very, very private person. I think from an MBTI standpoint, he's an ENTJ and is INTP unconscious. So he doesn't want anything out there and anybody to know about his personal life at all, period. It's like Elon Musk is an INTP and is ENTJ unconscious. So they're mirrors of each other. Okay. Where Elon Musk is trying to be Peter Thiel and Peter Thiel's trying to be Elon Musk, and it never works good that way. All right. So Elon Musk is the opposite. His whole life is out there for the most part for a book for anybody who wants to look at it, right? Or at least a crafted picture of Elon Musk. Okay. Like he's very upfront and he's very bold and about that, right? Like you can tell, that's who he is. Where Peter Thiel, he doesn't want nothing known, which is
You
weird
never
to me
see him
why
in,
Vance was selected.
Right. You don't see him out at any kind of like promotion for his companies or anything. Elon Musk is a really good marketer for everything he does,
That's
social
because he
media.
has people like that he puts forth, like the ENTP Palmer Luckey, for example. Palmer Luckey, all he does is wear party shirts and acts like a party animal and plays video games, while he's developing drone technology, supposedly, allegedly. So he has these people put forth out there so that he doesn't ever have a spotlight put on himself. Okay. Which is weird of what's going on right now. I really can't completely figure it out. And to be honest, I can't. Because he's usually, again, that's why I think did Musk really earn all his money? I don't know, or was it give it to him, or is it all just optics or whatever? But Peter Thiel, on the other hand, who they claim is worth far less than Musk is,
like
far less
7 or
than
8
Bill
billion.
Gates is. He's the guy behind the scenes that I think is worth far more than any of them.
Interesting. So you think that even his real wealth is not disclosed?
I would believe so. Yes.
Interesting. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I worked in Yosemite when I was young, 18 or 19, and it was a full company town. So you worked for the Curry company, and then you spent your money on the Curry, because Curry owned all of the kind of like assets in Yosemite Valley. So it was all just all kind of came back around. So it's a great kind of thing for that company. Like they were pre-tech, pre-internet, but it was interesting. It was a known company town and it operated like one. A lot of stuff was covered up. Problems were handled very non-publicly. It's really interesting.
I'm trying to find on my Substack one company I wanted you to look up, and maybe we'll talk about it next time if you want to, which is Peter Thiel's controls of the whole entire supply chain, which is the reason why I think we had supply chain problems allegedly, supposedly during COVID, was for him to be able to gain complete control of the supply chains for the elites.
Interesting.
And the company, let me get up the name for it. I know I wrote about it.
There's Palantir Founders Fund. Is that right? No.
Well, Founder Fund is his venture capital company that has invested in all of these companies. The one, man, I'm trying to think of the name of it. If I see it, I have a list of all his companies before he changed it. There's probably some ones I need to ask recently, but if I see the name of it, I'll remember it. One of them was Flexport, but that's not the main one. You can look up Flexport if you want to.
Flexport. I think you sent me that link. Didn't you want something? Maybe
I might have, yes, but there's another one that's. So Flexport is the control of supply chain to supply chain using Palantir. But the real company, oh, I wish I could remember it, is I can't find it, William. I have to go back and look for it. It was I have a friend who might remember what it is.
Genie? Is it Genie, Geni?
No. Let me see if I can. Flexport is a part of it. It's like two companies combined into one. So Flexport, it's where they're literally controlling all of the delivery and all of the warehouses pretty much around the world. They're using RFID technology. Oh, what was it called? To do it. But yes, there was a major play. Actually, there's a war going on right now between Bezos and whoever the elite that he works for, and Thiel and whoever the elite he works for, as far as controlling supply chains in the first world.
I believe it. I believe it. Yeah.
Which I wrote about it in. I thought I did.
See if I can
No, I don't remember. I wish I did remember the name of the other company, but
yeah, no. It's just incredible. It's Mithril. Is that what Lisa's saying? Is Mithril? It's not Mithril, huh?
No, Mithril is another venture capital company associated with. It's not Mithril. It's a specific. It's a specific supply chain company.
Explore our companies. Let's try. Aurus. Let's see. Gray Orange?
No. Gray Orange might be a part of it, but it's not the specific one I'm thinking about. Interesting. Paxos is cryptocurrency.
God, he has so many companies. Like, I wonder how many companies he's part of.
The true list we may never know.
Well, good point. Yeah. Somebody, they can hide it. They can have fronts and all kinds of stuff, especially out of Delaware.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is. They have like these two, like when you go into drive into a dock to unload your wares, they had like these two giant like pillars on each side that you would drive the truck in. It would scan literally all the cargo in the truck and know exactly what you're delivering, and then it would add it to the warehouse and update the kind of like the online point of sale systems. But yeah, he's definitely trying to control the entire supply chain. Oh,
it's incredible. That's incredible. Like that's how much control these guys want. I mean, it's really something else.
Yes, very much so.
And have you heard his story? I mean, his Thiel story about like injecting himself with baby's blood. Is that true?
Okay, so that comes from the pharmaceutical company, quote unquote, Ambrosia. I did a lot of research on Ambrosia because a lot of people were misappropriating JD Vance as having connections to Ambrosia. I couldn't find any at all. Thiel, yes, Thiel did raise capital for Ambrosia. I was able to confirm that. And Ambrosia, what it is they get not really baby's blood, but like younger, it could be babies, but it's more like kind kind of like before young adulthood blood, right? And then so they would take the younger blood and they would pretty much give yourself an infusion of that younger blood in the hope that there's more like, maybe stem cells in that blood, maybe different unknown mechanisms within those blood products of a younger human, in the hope that for longevity purposes, they say, is the main. They called them. They would just call them blood boys, right? There was even a Silicon Valley episode, if I remember correctly, that was modern. That was kind of quote unquote poking fun of Ambrosia and Blood Boys and Peter Thiel, right? So, but I was never able to find any connections specifically to JD Vance and Ambrosia, though.
Yeah, I want to find that company. I feel like you sent it to me, or you texted it to me, or something. I don't know.
I probably did. Oh, Cargo. I found it. Kargo.
That's it. Cargo. So this is it. I feel like we went through this, yeah. First. Solutions.
No, actually,
Cargo
maybe it was.
Promise.
Was it Cargo?
I don't know. Let me see. Let me see where this other thing is. I feel like we went over it, or we did. You showed me something in one of our talks.
We might have, yeah. I think.
I don't know where it is.
But
Hey, the Occult Rejects is here too. Hey, Nick. Hey, Lisa.
I remember the giant. Yeah, it's okay. So there's two cargo sites. It's mycargo.com. That's the other cargo site. That's not the right one.
Yes.
There you go. That's it.
That's the one you showed me. Wow, there's those two things you were talking about. So it goes in. Wow. I mean, the expanse of these networks is just crazy. Like, imagine if Vance gets in and can maximize value, like in there, and have government contracts. These guys love government contracts. They all do. Vance, Musk.
I mean, just look at the ability of delivering it to the warehouse. In between those two pillars contains like RFID, and you even have like the Chinese cryptocurrency VeChain, which is supposed to do this and managing all this data. So you could do it through a cryptocurrency ledger, maintain all this data as well too. And it's crazy. It's just like, this is total supply chain dominance.
Right. I mean, it's really something else. Eventually, those guys at the warehouses are all going to be replaced with robots too, just to maximize value.
Mm-hmm.
Like and the truck drivers.
Thiel's got robotics companies he's invested in.
Yeah, it's on the horizon, guys. So find a new job or get out back to farming or something, because like the
farmland's going to be bought up by
good point. Good point.
Or you can buy shares into buying farmland. It's ridiculous.
It is. I mean, it's incredible. So Vance is Thiel's guy, another one of Thiel's guys. That's really it. Do you think that Trump is one of Thiel's guys? Probably not.
I would say that he I don't think he's directly like groomed by Thiel, obviously, but does like Thiel have influence over Trump to some degree? Yeah. It's about as much as anybody can. But I mean, again, we'll see who Trump puts a swamp back in. When he, I do think he is going to become president, and we'll see who he fills his cabinet full of swamp dwellers, right? So we'll see, right?
Yeah, he did it last time. He was terrible. He hired terrible people. Like a lot of his hires were wretched, and a lot of people he kept in his job, like literally front stabbed him. So it was like, dude, what are you going to do the same thing again? Like he
already has by picking JD Vance. You can make the argument.
There you go.
I would actually say JD Vance is worse than Mike Pence.
I mean, that's saying something.
Because at least Mike Pence wasn't really involved in the level of JD Vance as far as these venture capital companies.
Not even close. Yeah, he wasn't that type of personality. He was kind of like a pure Midwestern politician, my understanding. I don't even know.
I'm no fan of Mike Pence, CMP Mike Pence at all. But compared to JD Vance, I'm like, well, I'd rather have Trump actually, crazy as sounds, picked him again. I mean, anybody Trump was going to pick for vice president out of the whole entire list. I mean, I'd probably say Nikki Haley would be very bad, obviously,
Yeah.
maybe not worse. You can make that argument. I'd be willing to hear that, but like out of like RFK Jr., who I'm not a fan of, obviously, I haven't talked about it, or Ben Carson or Tulsi Gabbard or Tucker Carlson or anybody like that, like JD Vance is worse than all of those.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And I had a friend online, we were talking about it in the pre-show, that he was at Oxford and was like friends with people who were in a gay, like, I mean, this is the allegation, in kind of a gay compromise fraternity or something. Like these guys are a lot of these guys are compromised. And I wouldn't be surprised if Vance was compromised too. So
doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
So we have interesting times, We are not cursed with boarding times, that's for sure. Because there's a lot going on. Like every day is like a new thing. Like I don't even know. Like Biden just gives up right here, July. Crazy.
Yeah, and like Lisa said, Lisa Solis off X said Thiel donated a significant amount of money to Trump campaign presidency in his 2020 campaign. That is true. It was involved with Cambridge Analytica in 2016. But I mean, he claimed he was going to stay out of it this time, but that obviously didn't happen. So.
Right. I mean, I think that's a good form of deception too. I'm going to stay out of it and not this, but Vance is, because I'm going to stay out of it because Vance is my guy anyway. I don't have to get involved because I already have kind of a lackey who's going to do everything I tell him anyway. Right?
Well, his last I think statement about Trump was if you put a gun to his head, he'd vote for Trump, and that was a few weeks ago.
Wow.
Who's the major Silicon Valley donor for Biden? Him and Thiel got an argument at a conference here past week or two, and that's when he made that statement. Let me see if I can.
I'm not aware of that. I don't know.
Supposedly that guy has connections to Epstein. Allegedly, Elon Musk was yelling about that. Elon Musk has his own connections to Epstein too. Let's be real here, okay? You have the so-called karate email with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Right, right. Like the inside language again, right? The kind of inside knowing language. Are you going to come to the dojo or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's actually questions like because he was with Master Compiler himself, Netanyahu kill you. He's with him, and so people are asking that question: does Netanyahu have something on Musk? He probably does.
And he was with Netanyahu and Musk were together when Netanyahu visited, right?
Right.
And then the reason why Elon Musk was at Netanyahu's speech was because Netanyahu invited him.
There you go.
In front of Congress. So the guy it was at the Aspen Ideas Festival, and the guy that Peter Thiel got in a so-called argument was with
Michael Moritz. Is that right?
No, it wasn't Michael Moritz. That name doesn't sound familiar. Wow, I'm surprised actually it didn't even mention in this article who it was. If I could find it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just strange days. Like the clapping for Netanyahu is like so strange. Like they literally killed like 200,000 people in that Palestine, and these guys were like trained SEALs, man, just getting up and clapping away. Both parties. So pretty amazing.
It's crazy. The articles actually had the guy who Peter Thiel got in an argument with. They took him out.
Oh wow! They just made him anonymous. Peter Thiel's
I think it was Reid Hoffman.
That'd be surprised. That's an Epstein connection too. He's supposedly one of the clients. So one of the reasons why the client list hasn't been divulged is because these guys are very wealthy. I think Hoffman's worth a couple bill.
I think it was him. Not 100% sure, but I think it was him. But yeah, they supposedly that's who they got in the argument with.
John, we are at the hour and 8-minute mark. Is there anything you'd like to add or anything?
That is all I have, William. I have nothing else that I can think of on.
That's a lot because there's a lot going on. Like people, they deliberately aren't telling you the nuanced or big picture view of Vance at all, and his connection to Thiel and his background and Vivek and all that guy. So you have all these kind of new tech, Silicon Valley VC types with new cutting edge technology literally would be in the White House. for better or worse, probably the worse. I mean, I'm sure they would increase their own personal wealth, but I mean, how much of that trickles down to the average person is another question. But I mean, that's what's at stake in 4 months, assuming we get a fair election, which I'm sure there'll be tons of fraud. I think they're just really trying to set the stage to be able to pull off a Kamala Steele, even though nobody likes her and she has a
I guess we'll see. It was at another
TikTok.
conference. It was an Allen and Company conference in Sun Valley, Idaho, where Peter Thiel and Reid Hoffman got in an argument in publicly, which Peter Thiel usually does not do, and told Reid Hoffman, "Thank you for making Trump a martyr." So
wow, interesting. Yeah. John, what have you been working on and where can people find you? I know you're very active on Substack, right?
Yes, I've been writing my Finder's book and publishing it on Substack. And I've been, publishing my videos and interviews and content as well on Substack. I have, I don't know, more than 250 plus pages written of my Finder's book already up on Substack as a draft for people to read. When I finish with that, hopefully I'll probably try to devote more. I've already done shows with you and shows of myself exposing Peter Thiel and a few blog articles on Peter Thiel as well too, which I probably need to end up doing more now since JD Vance is a vice president pick. So subscribing to Substack for content, $5 a month and $50 a year. And I'm also on Patreon as well too. We've read the documents on Odyssey. Thank you for having me on, William.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. Always a pleasure and always interesting. I always learn something new, so I can always rely on that.
I always listen to something new when I listen to your shows, and I'm a proud Patreon as well too. I want to make that known that I've been a long time subscriber to William's Patreon. So anybody listening is definitely well worth it. I want to thank William for all his catalog of work and his time that he's put in interviewing and his own knowledge base as well too. So thank you.
Thanks,
William,
I appreciate that. And people can listen to my shows ad free on Patreon. They're all ad free, and I have 5 documentaries. And probably going to be posting additional stuff very soon. Very
good.
I have a really long back catalog of stuff that I saved that was taken off of YouTube, but I'm just going to try to repost all that stuff. So that knowledge base that I had about the West Memphis 3 isn't lost. There's a lot of information there. But John, I appreciate it. Great job. Excellent research. And I'm looking forward to reading your book in full. So John Brisson of We Read the Documents. I'll put links to Substack and Patreon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. God bless everybody.
God bless. Stay there.